Hello YouTube, my name's Al, I'm autistic, and I have grievances specifically around the way people talk about autism and the way they understand it. I'm jumping right in at the fucking deep end this time. It took a bit longer to get to than I planned, so much so I have a new chair. Isn't it cute? I want to talk about autistic superpowers, because it ain't a fucking superpower. The thing that a lot of people like to come back to is special interests. You know, you get caught up in something, you learn all sorts of stuff about it, and so what? No, seriously, so what? You could be very knowledgeable about a subject, sure, could be, or you could end up, your special interest could end up being the dude 3 doors down. And what's that? What do you call that? That's obsessive. Stalking. Just because it could be something really great, so like you could end up obsessed with STEM and learn all about maths, or what is it, something technology, maths, whatever it is that STEM stands for, science, technology and maths. You could do that and you could end up becoming like a savant and end up working for NASA and helping like land the Hayabusa. The Hayabusa landed on the... Was it Hayabusa that landed on a comet, or was it on the moon? Whatever it was. You could end up doing that. You could end up becoming obsessed with it and being absolutely shit at it. My special interest, well, I have several, which is another thing actually. We have this idea that, you know, you get this one hyper-fixated thing, you get really obsessive over it. Yeah, obsessive. That's another word for it. But it's not, it doesn't necessarily work like that. It could be something that you get very into for a short period of time, and then you move on to something else, and then you move on to something else, and it's like a smorgasbord. It's like a buffet. You take a little bit and you eat that. That's like really great. But now I'm going to go and have that. For me, the main one, the persistent one, is video games, and I like to think I'm fairly decent at them. But I'm also getting old now. My reaction times aren't up to snuff with some of them. So, like competitive multiplayer, first-person shooters, stuff like that, I'm not very good. I enjoy it. I generally do okay in support roles. Like one in particular that I'm playing a lot at the moment, Hunt Showdown. Get me in a group with somebody who is pretty good at getting down in the weeds and, you know, getting up close to people, and get me in a bush at a distance with a rifle, scope rifle, somewhere I can hide. I do great there. But one-on-one, face-to-face, no, I suck. I'm just not very good at it. Because I just don't have the reaction times. I don't play the same way other people do. I don't do the shifting around. I'm very slow and methodical. I'm good at that kind of thing. Just because you have a special interest doesn't mean you're going to be good at it. You might be knowledgeable about it. I know a lot about the game. You know, I can tell you a lot about it. I can tell you about the locations. I can tell you about the mechanics. Doesn't mean I'm any good at it. I see this a lot from other parts of the autistic community, other autistic people. It's a fucking community. I hate that as well. That's something else. But it comes from other autistic people, and that's something else I'm going to talk about at a future date. The whole, you know, unlock your autistic superpower. It's insulting. It's patronizing. And it's infantilizing, which is something that many autistic people aren't fond of, the way we're infantilized and we're treated like infants, like children, for those who don't know. Infantilization means treating somebody like a child. And the thing is, there are a lot of autistic people, you see, it's a neurodevelopmental dysfunction, divergence, hence neurodivergent. What basically happens, in the simplest of terms, very broad and not very accurate, but you reach a certain stage of development and then you stop. So the brain, in a lot of ways, my brain, despite me being 44 years old, despite me having my own home, children, a wife, job, all that stuff, part of this is still at the same level as a child. And it seems to come through. But I try really fucking hard, to not let that interfere, to not let myself go into those childish modes of thinking, those childish mannerisms, those childish actions. You know, I'm just trying to live my life, just trying to get on with it. And we get talking about autistic superpowers, and I saw somebody else talking about who's also not very fond of it, the whole superpower thing, saying, you know, they're saying it's like it's okay for children, and like, no, actually no, it's not. Like I said, I'm a parent. I have 2 kids now. One of them's almost 20. The other one's 6. And something I decided very early on is I was not going to talk to them like they were kids, because when you talk to someone like they're a kid, what you're doing is you're talking down to them. You're talking to them like they're an idiot, like they're a fool. They don't understand things, and they don't understand things, which is fine. They don't, you know. It's like my youngest. She doesn't know what black holes are. Of course she doesn't. Well, she might actually. They've done a bit of science, but anyway, she doesn't know what black holes are. She don't know how they work. She doesn't know what forms them. She doesn't know what gravity works. It's not because she's an idiot. It's just because she doesn't know. It's because she's a child. You know, she's young. She doesn't have the breadth of experience to understand and properly process all the information. It doesn't mean she won't. It just means right now she can't. She's not reached that stage. So you get talk, oh, that's cool, that's really sweet, and it's like, you know, I get that when she does things that shouldn't really be a big deal when you're an adult, and they're not. Like, you know, when she's playing a game, for example, she's been playing one at the moment with the platforming and stuff. It's like when she jumps up onto a platform that's a little bit challenging, you know, it's like, well done, you did well, but there are ways of going about it. I'm not there like, oh, that's so great, yeah, you did such a great job. Labyrinth. Fucking Labyrinth. The woman who played Hoggle, you know, the little dwarf guy, whatever he was. The woman inside it, she was an actual, like, a dwarf. I'm told that's offensive, but I mean, the condition's called dwarfism, so literally, she is a dwarf, as far as I know, she's still alive. And I remember watching a making of behind the scenes, and they were trying to do something. She had these really long fingers on it, made it difficult to pick stuff up, and she had to get hold of something, and she did it, and this woman was like, oh, you did really well. She's a fucking woman. She just happens to be like 3 feet tall. She's not a fucking moron. But he talked to her like Gary Coleman. In interviews, people used to pick him up and carry him around like he was a child. He was like 12 years old. He used to carry him around like he was a little baby. It's like no respect. It's the same thing that happens with autistic people. Fucking the superpower thing. Can you tell I'm wound up about this? Because see, this is why I want to do this. Because I see so much of this content about autistic people, and I'll come back to that in a future video. I want to keep it focused on the superpower thing, because it's not a fucking superpower. That should be obvious from how worked up I am about this. It's not a superpower when I go outside and I can feel the wind, and I can smell the grass, and I can smell the soil, and I can smell the people, and I can smell the cars, and I can smell the fucking concrete, and it's all there all the time, and I can hear the wind, and I can hear the cars, and I can hear the people, I can hear the fucking trains that are like half a mile that way, and there's like so many people moving around, and things flapping in the breeze, and the clouds moving overhead. It's just constantly all there. It's not a superpower. It's exhausting. I'm trying to make it something it isn't. Trying to make out like there are positive aspects to it. So maybe there are, but I don't really see any positive aspects of life from me being autistic. They may have influenced the way I think, but I'm the arbiter of how I've applied that. Like, I know a very common trait of autistic people is a very firm black and white sense of integrity. I think, you know, black and white thinking is either right or it's wrong. I think that's a really good thing, but I think that I feel that that is the way to be. I I've thought this through. It's like the rules need to be, the rules are there for a reason, and they should be applied equally, consistently, for multiple reasons. One of them being that it's easier to understand if everybody's on the same playing field. There are, you know, like no exceptions. You know where you stand. But that's not because I'm autistic. It may have been influenced by the autistic side of the brain, but that's still something I have come to myself. It's not something that's this great, magical, fantastical fucking clitoris, this mythical concept. It's just part of who I am. I'm just a person. I just happen to have a brain that's built a bit different. I don't need people talking down to me and cheering me on for how great it is that I can do whatever it is I can do. Like, I don't know, take Bob Dylan. He was a singer, right? Music. You know, people talk about how great he was as a musician, and he was very talented. He was very, you know, very dedicated, and he worked really hard. I think it's Bob Dylan. I don't really know music very well. You know, he say he worked hard. He honed his craft. He wrote great songs. He worked on it. Now imagine if he'd been autistic. They'd have made it all about that. Because he's autistic, he did this. He couldn't have just done it because he tried really hard. He worked really hard. He met the right people. He got to know the right people. He said the right things at the right times. Learned how to do these things. Think about it. Seriously. There are some very talented people out there, some very successful people that have done some amazing things. Yet when someone's autistic, they always need to bring it up. Like, look at this. This sort of the autism have allowed them to do this. No, hard work and frankly a huge amount of luck has allowed them to do those things. It hasn't come from being autistic or neurotypical. It's come from them. It's come from them as a person. Everything about them. You can't narrow it down to one little thing. Like, I'm 6'3", I'm a pretty big guy. Is it obvious? So, you know, if I'd gotten into boxing when I was a kid, and I really worked at it, I would have a significant advantage over a great number of people because of the sheer size of me compared to most people. That's why weight classes exist in boxing. Like, Manny Pacquiao is one I like to point out because he's a really small guy. He's a fucking phenomenal boxer. Also because my wife's Filipino, so you know. If I went and fought him now, we're around the same age. I'm bigger than he is, significantly bigger than he is. I have a lot more weight behind me. But he'd probably wipe the fucking floor with me because he's so much more skilled than I am, despite most other things being fairly equal. It's I'm not so conceited as to think, oh yeah, I could win, but I guarantee that if I hit him, he'd feel it a lot more than he did from pretty much anyone else he's ever fought, simply because of the sheer size of me. I also guarantee that when he hit me, I'm not going to feel it as much as the people he's usually fighting because of the huge weight difference. That's a physical advantage I have that's by pure chance. But he's still going to wipe the floor with me because he's a champion boxer, you know? He'd kick the crap out of me. I think it'd be a great fight. I think I'd have a lot of fun with it. I think it'd be fantastic. If I ever had the chance, I'd love to have a boxing match with Mr. T, who, again, despite being smaller than me, older than me, he'd still kick the crap out of me. But I think it'd be a phenomenal experience for me because I think it'd be a very honourable fight. I'd love the chance if I ever got it. Although he's a bit old now, I don't think I'd feel comfortable doing it anymore because, I mean, he is an old man now. But, you know, that's the thing. The size of me, that's not a superpower, it's just happenstance. If I trained as long as he had and we had a fight, then it's going to be a lot different. But maybe it'd be worse because the training would make me feel more confident in doing it, but maybe I really suck at it. You know, we don't know. It's just, it comes down to individuals. I don't even know where I'm going with this one. I think the main thing I wanted to say is I fucking hate this whole superpower thing. Just stop. You're not you're not helping. Anybody who says stuff like that, you're really not helping. You're perpetuating this thing like fucking predators or whatever it was called. Autism, the predators have come down. I haven't seen it. It's the one by the guy who was in the original film. Shane Black, is it? The one who did Die Hard. It's written by him, and it's like the predators are coming and they're getting like DNA from different creatures and splicing it into themselves, and they want this kid because he's autistic, and autism will save the day. Like, fuck off. Seriously, imagine if they started trying to do that with something like Down syndrome, or fucking bipolar, and people do with shit like that. I know a guy who's bipolar, and you know, in some ways, it's really fucking beneficial. When you get something high, you know, you can do anything. It can be useful, but then you get these really fucking low lows where you start like drinking bleach, laced with fucking razor blades, sprinkled with rat poison, served up on a fucking baguette. Baguette being a problem because it's French, by the way. I'm British. I need these moments of levity, otherwise I get... I don't know where else I want to go with this. I just wanted to say fucking... I was really hoping to hold back a little and keep it... let's be honest, I'm not going to hold back. I was hoping to keep it a bit more focused and sort of get into the more frustrating things as I went along, but I just felt this was something I needed to get out there, because I'm sick of seeing all the same shit. Maybe the next one will be about that thing about the other autistic people. Maybe that's what I'll do next. I don't know at this point. I just needed to get this one out. It's been bubbling away for a while now. I was supposed to do this weeks ago, but real life happens. I've been ill and other stuff's been going on. But I'm not giving up on this. I was really mind-boggled by how many views the previous video got. I know it's not like massive numbers, but for me that was a lot, especially on this channel. I have another channel where I post video game content that can get like 50, 60, sometimes over 100 views, which is nice. But on this one I get like 7 or 8 because I barely ever post anything, and for some reason the autistic one seems to have caught people's attention, so I'm going to keep doing it. Not because I want the views, they are nice. I'm glad that people are getting something out of it, because the response I've had has been quite inspiring, not quite the right word. The response I've had has been, I don't know how to put that into words. I've had a response anyway, a response that's resonated with me, shall we say. So I am going to keep putting these things out. I'll try and go on it a bit quicker for the next few. So I just don't see enough people. Yeah, I'm going to do that next time, because I don't see enough people like myself really trying to drive home the problems of being, the realities of being autistic. Even the people who say they do, they really don't. They sanitize it, they dumb it down, they smooth it all out to try and get it across to people, and it's a commendable idea. Because I know from first-hand experience what it's like when I do try and get things across face to face. It doesn't end well, because people don't want to hear the realities of it. They want to hear the cool little sound bites. They want something easily digestible, something that they feel is easily understandable, something that you can just brush it on the rug. Right, you've done that now, it's okay, it's not a big deal, we just go ignore the rest of it over there. We'll just look at the tip of the fucking iceberg. It's such a cliched analogy. It's such a cliched analogy, but it's like that. All you see is this tiny little bit, which is true for everybody. Nobody reveals everything about themselves. You can't, because other people aren't there at all times. They're not inside your head. They're not feeling what you're feeling. They're not feeling the fact that like my right butt cheek itches right now, the exact spot. They're not feeling this weird little burning sensation because I'm a bit sweaty. Fuck's sake, I'm a bit hyper aware of that now. It's very warm at the moment. It's not like I don't have an infection or anything. It's just I'm a little bit sweaty, so it feels like my skin's burning. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you can't relate to that, because maybe that's something else to do with the way autism affects me, because there are times at night I'll be laying in bed and it's like I'm there with my wife, and like her hand will just gently brush against me, and it fucking burns. It's like I'm on fire. It's agonizing. But if she puts her hand on me like that, it's fine. Give me a slap. I don't feel that. When it's just ever so gently brushing against me, it's like my whole body's on fire. Hypersensitivity. Maybe that's why I get so worked up about the whole superpower thing, because it hits me in the same way, you know, in the brain rather than physically. But it still gives a physiological response. I don't know. I don't like it. It's not helpful. It's really fucking patronising, and it's just wrong. Autism is not a superpower. It's not a debilitating disorder either. For some people it is. There are people who are non-verbal. There are people who eat their own shit. I hate the way people boil these things down to such simplistic ideas. It doesn't help. I like to keep things very, very regimented. I like this idea of it's either this or it's this. There is no middle ground, but I know that's not how it works. There is a lot in between. As much as I don't like it, I think that's where it really winds me up, is because I see other people saying that they understand nuance, but then it's like, let's have a nuanced discussion about this. By the way, you're actually just a Nazi. You know what I mean? You can't have, it's like I have all these little bits and pieces and all these different little ideas, but you're so simplistic. You just think bread. Don't work that way with anyone. Why would it be any different for autistic people who have a couple extra layers going on? Maybe than, I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe neurotypical people have all of these same problems and more, and they're just better at hiding them. Probably are. I'm terrible at masking. Maybe other people are just better at it than me. Probably. Actually, definitely they are. Maybe neurotypical people are just better at doing it. Maybe they do it more. Maybe they're so good at doing it they don't even realise they're doing it. So it comes back round where he started, I suppose. Things aren't that simple. They never are. Sorry this has been so rambly, but I just needed to, I think what I really needed to get out was just how much it winds me up, the frustration of it. That's what I really want to get across, is how difficult it is trying to just be. You know, not be anything, not be me, not be guy with glasses, not be a beard, just be, just exist. So much going on at all times. Though I think that's more likely related to ADHD, which I'm in the process of assessing, but that's going to be 7-year waiting list, seriously. It's another thing I want to talk about at some point. That's enough for now. I think it's I was hoping to, I know I said this already, I was hoping to hold off from getting quite so worked up so early on. But at the same time, that's what I really want to get across, is just how frustrating life is, how much anxiety there is. And I don't mean anxiety of being scared, I mean just the anxious energy, just how much excitement there is. And again, I don't mean excited, it's like, oh, I'm so happy to see that. I mean like nervous energy, just constant going on. And I can't speak for everybody who's autistic. I'm not going to do that. I fucking hate it when people do that. All I can say is that what I've heard, what I've read, what people have said, what I've heard people say, how they've spoken to me, I do think it's in fact, the evidence seems quite clear. It's a very common experience for autistic people to have all this pent-up frustration and not being sure how to get it out, or being told that when you do it in the wrong way. And again, I'm going to come back to that at some other point. And this is just one of those specific things that really grinds my fucking gears. Stop talking about autistic superpowers. it doesn't help. It makes things so much fucking worse. Because you should know why it makes things worse. We've seen the films that do all this shit. It's like, no, we're not all Rain Man. We're not all the kid from Mercury Rising, which is actually a really good film, by the way, and it's probably one of the best representations. I just hate the freaking ending. If you really want a good representation of what it's like living with autism, Ben X, Ben space X, the letter X. It's a Danish film, which is largely based on true experiences. That and Mary and Max, two very good. They both in that they're both called Aspergic, but it's not a huge amount of difference really. They're all part of the same thing. They're just different manifestations of a similar condition. Or maybe they're completely different. We don't know, but I like the fact it's a whole involved one. Anyway, I've rambled enough. I just needed to calm myself down a little bit. So I'll come back to next time. I'm going to talk about other autistic people, also called autistic communities. They're probably going to be far more animated about that, to be perfectly honest. So look forward to that. And until then, thank you for watching. Or not if you didn't. You know what I mean.